Godot 4.4 release brings a lot of long-awaited features to the lovely Godot game engine. There's something for everyone here. From features like a totally new physics engine, huge improvements to the editor, totally new performance systems to improve your user experience, a lot of quality life features like a totally new tone mapping system, huge performance updates like a physics interpolation system to give drastic FPS boost, creating a lot of different possibilities, improving the 3D space a lot in this update, covering things like jiggly animations. So there's something for everyone here. There's update to all of the platforms: Android, Mac OS, Linux. There's update to C#, .NET. There's updates to animations. There's update to audio, importing, navigation, physics, rendering. There's something for everyone. So let's get started, cover this update. The Godot's default physics engine is great, but a lot of developers like to use an open source physics engine called Jolt. Jolt was incepted in late 2020s and has been the de facto physics engine for a lot of developers. So according to the developers, it only makes sense to integrate it into the engine directly. With the help of the original creator, the Godot team has binded the Jolt physics engine into the engine. The feature is still under the experimental tag, so you'll have to enable it in the project settings, but based on community feedback, the label will be dropped and it will become official. When you run a game in Godot, it runs as a separate window. While it's totally alright to some people with limited screen space generally find it annoying and it kind of kills the user experience. The Godot team has been trying to improve this for a while, but the team has always prioritized keeping the background processing of the game and the editor separate to avoid having shared resources as much as possible, and in case the game crashes, keep the editor running to avoid data loss. Using some window management tricks, the Godot team has seamlessly integrated the Godot game window into the editor while keeping the background processes completely separate. When you have an embedded game window, it only makes sense that you can edit your game directly into the game window without having to stop the game to edit it. The new Godot 4.4 release brings this vision to life. Modifying your game from within the editor while it's running or paused has never been easier. This release lets you click on the element within the scene and move the camera, allowing you to explore your game world in a way not possible before. Make games in VR. The Android support for XR devices. Because Godot is itself a project made within engine like any other, it can be made available in more unconventional places like web or mobile. With this release, the first step have been taken to use OpenXR to transfer existing Android editor into context of XR headset. Currently, it's supported by the Meta Quest 3, the Quest S devices, and the Quest Pro. This release lets you use the Godot editor within your VR world. So imagine being able to develop your game within your game. Amazing. That looks like a video title. Maybe I'll try it once. Uber shaders are a load time pre-compiled version of each shaders with all their features. These shaders become a fallback whenever a new object is drawing, so that freezing, jittery stuff kind of, annoys the thing. So using these Uber shader techniques, the team has drastically improved the experience of the player, reducing the stutter and jitteriness so your games can look better and not buggy. Another huge physics and performance update is the 3D physics interpolation. With Godot 4.3, the team introduced the 2D physics interpolation system. Now with the Godot 4.4 release, the 3D counterpart is here. The Godot 3D physics interpolation now creates really smooth physics frames. Type directories are coming to Godot. This implementation impacts the core game engine, GDScript, and all the other scripting languages with inference with the Godot's directory type. The inspector UX has been improved, according to let you assign the right keys and values directly inside the editor. The feature set of the Godot 4.3 engine feels stable, so the Godot team has focused their attention on optimizing, making the Godot engine harder, better, faster, and stronger. Minifold library replaces the CSG implementation. Support for constructive solid geometry has been in the Godot engine since Godot 3.1, but it's a great tool, but everyone knows CSG is kind of buggy. Nevertheless, our internal implementation suffered from stability issues and other bugs, so when a new open source library was released, we jumped on the opportunity, says the Godot team. Minifold completely replaces the existing CSG implementation, which is a fairly big change in how Godot handles CSG internally, but it minimally impacts the user API. So please check the read more options to know more about this. I'll leave it the link in the description. By extending the domain of curves beyond the normalized 0 and 1, the Godot team aims to give you greater flexibility on the map functions. This is a great step because a lot of engines do give you these options, so it's a really good thing that Godot has taken steps to listen to the community and create features that bring all of the beloved features from other engines together. With Godot 4.4, you can now create temporary files and utilities with the brand new API. A pretty cool feature for people doing complex work, and temporary files are in general quite useful when doing processing and file-based management. The team has overhauled the scene tree system, giving it a huge performance boost and generally changing how it functions. Check out the Godot page for more info, and quite an amazing feature is the new 3D physics-based snapping system. Godot is improving the 3D experience more and more every day, and it's really amazing to see them implementing such a cool feature. While it not seem much on surface, when you're working on large surface level maps, having the object easily snap onto other objects and on the surfaces can become the biggest difference. Now objects snap based on the collision shape of the objects they are snapping to, and it's amazing. Trust me, when you'll use this, you'll know this. The favorite system has been existed in the editor, but now you can pin your most used properties in the inspector to make them easy to use. A simple yet amazing feature. A new expression evaluator has been added as an other tab in the bottom panel of the editor. In there, you can evaluate expressions using the local state directory while stopped at a breakpoint. Quite amazing, I'd say. Now, this is one thing that's, my favorite of these release. Recently, I was working on this project and I have a rather small screen. It's normal, but it isn't too big. So using two splits, using a split between a screen to divide them, it's quite annoying. So getting the preview of a camera is really bad. The Godot new release now gives you a preview what the camera is seeing in the inspector in the properties menu, and I love it. Love it. I often talk about how the built-in Godot reference or the built-in documentation is amazing. The new Godot 4.4 release brings it to the next step. Now when you hover over a property, you get a tooltip that tells you a lot of things about the things like annotations, some of its properties, how to use it, and give some examples as well. So it's quite amazing that Godot is improving the experience for being a developer, and it generally makes reading other people's code really easy. So good job. This is one thing that's quite amazing. Now normally when you're using the Godot's lighting for complex scenes, one thing people have to choose is whether I should bake the shadows, so the shadows are static, they are rendered baked out, they are not rendered in real time, or I should use dynamically rendered shadows. This is something that has a bit of a conflict because some people do have good devices and some don't. The new engine release has a really cool feature. Now you can use dynamically baked shadows, dynamically rendered shadows near the camera and far away used baked shadow. This is huge and really amazing, and I love Godot for adding these small quality of life improvement optimizing features that make the life of people who have potato PCs like mine a lot of easy, like really easy. And once again, Godot has improved the editorial load experience by giving it a really speed bump of about 3x. I mean, it's 3 times faster to load a scene. I mean, amazing, really nice. A small but mighty improvement to the Godot shader editor is that materials preview and matching new side dock. Yes, you have a cool side dock that gives you a preview of your material that you have created. It's a really nice feature. And another thing is the ability to drag and drop meshes into the visual shader area and automatically create mesh emitters. I mean, pretty nice. A simple quality of life feature that Godot added is button annotation. Now you can export using the export annotation on a variable to export a button to do functionality like a random color generator or number generator. You click the button and another number is generated. Pretty nice. You can now create buttons in the inspector for add tool scripts. Really nice. There's been a couple of updates to the Android platform. First of all, you have now the long anticipated feature of exporting your games directly from the Android editor. Previously in Godot versions, you needed to export your game on another OS if you want to export your game. Now you can do it directly in the Android editor. The Java class worker is now fixed, and you can now map Java classes to the Godot objects as an inference. This gives an easier access to Android SDKs and lets you avoid creating plugins for even the most basic things. Android file picker is now usable in your mobile games, so you have easy access and makes the process a little bit more seamless. Swappy is our Android frame pacing library that is now integrated into the engine. It lets you handle the multiple refresh rates if they are supported by the device and makes the process a bit more flexible. Finally, the most favorite feature and the most anticipated feature is that now you can have your apps matching icons according to these themes. It's really annoying when the icon of your app blends in with the background and the user experience is ruined. So having the icon of your app adapt to the theme of your user is quite an impressive feature. Before Godot 4.4, accessing a device camera was only supported by macOS and iOS devices. Now Linux support has finally been merged as well. For other platforms, the Godot team still requires contributor to pick up the work, and if you want to do that. For iOS, there has been some workarounds over Metal. Metal is a low-level graphics API similar to Vulkan or D3, D12, which are both supported by Godot but not available on the Mac OS and iOS. Until now, Godot has used a library called Molten Vulkan to run Vulkan over Metal. This direct implementation is more efficient and allows greater control over features and performance trade-off in the future. Early results have shown that this backend is great as fast as Vulkan, in many cases faster on Apple hardware. In relation with the new backend, you now have option to use Metal FX upscaling as an alternative to existing upscaler. Basically what this means is now you have more options for using Metal, and I really appreciate Godot working to it's really funny that Apple is such a pain in the butt for developers, and Godot is trying their best to keep up with those bastards who make every kind of development harder for developers. Generally, for game developers at the very least, Apple is pain in the ass. They have really nice quality of life features, but sometimes they make things so hard. especially their hardware system. They literally just designed a whole new ecosystem, so developers have to figure out that. Oh my god. Additionally, there's been improvement to the Godot Apple controller system. The Godot team has overhauled the controller network on macOS and iOS to unify the code across the platforms. Like I said, they're trying to get Apple in line with the other platforms to make the work easier for them and for the developers. Some huge improvements have been made on the animation side in this update. This update brings a new node type which is used to handle 3D models and procedural animation, which partially replaces the previously deprecated skeleton IK3D. This node, which is called Look at Modifier 3D, is specialized to make a model of a character to look at a direction, and therefore user can now assign angle or limitations, forward axis settings, and more directly instead of relying on specific bone structure or arbitrary layout. That means you have more control over the axis of your model. Your model will be more aware of its surrounding. I don't know if it's a good way to put it, but now you have a bit more control over the dimensions and the targeting of your character. Additionally, the really nice feature is Jiggle physics. Yes, Spring Bone Simulator 3D. The VRM Spring Bones has been available as an add-on on the asset library for a while now, but there were some issues that could only be fixed by more direct implementation, says the Godot team. And the animation team refined the MIT distributed code based on the Godot skeleton modifier 3D node and tied it with the existing core functionality. This helps improve both usability and performance. That means that we have Jiggle physics. I don't know the rest. I just think Jiggle physics is really nice. I love Jiggle physics. Not because of gacha games. Trust me, I'm not that kind of guy. And finally, on the animation side, we have markers. I don't know why Godot didn't add markers until now, because when you're editing, especially in softwares like Premiere Pro or DaVinci Resolve, markers are quite amazing. When you have longer videos, pretty simple, yet extremely important. Some huge improvements have been made to the importing workflow. Best Texture Composer is a tool that compresses images into various GPU texture formats and is now being integrated into Godot's engine. Best runs on GPU and is able to compress images significantly faster than the Godot's current solution, which is using the VRAM compressed import setting. This change reduces import times dramatically and is really a nice implementation. Customizable animation imports. Previously, when you import something using the GLTF, you're only allowed to modify the position, rotation, scale, and the mesh bend, shape, weight properties, and you really need to customize more properties. This extension now enables the animator to target custom properties too. You can take color of light, FV of a camera, albedo of materials, UV offset of materials, you name it. There's a lot more possibilities now and makes variation really easy. In the physics side, there's been improvement to debugging. The thing is that Godot's 3D collision shapes have been, really annoying me. I don't know why there hasn't been a feature to change the color of, 3D collision shapes. You can already do that in, 2D, but now you can do it in the 3D. There will be a new property called debug color and debug field properties, so you can now customize them in the editor to look good. Pretty nice, Godot. Thank you for this one. Now, rendering side has gotten a lot of updates, and recently Godot has been focusing on rendering a lot, especially on the shadow side and the retro style side. I don't know why they're kind of focusing on this area, but I've seen updates on this one previously and now as well. First of all, we have blending shadows. Using the bicubic sampling and transparency, you can now blend shadows into the environment, which adds a little bit of more of a touch of realism. Also, there's been improvement to the vertex shading system, adding a new option to existing materials to force enable material via the project settings. What it means is that you're now able to do vertex shadings forcefully. I don't know what I just said, but basically it really helps you get that PSX style graphics in the Godot games, and it's really nice. There's been 2D batching system has been added for more performance optimization, and a really good initiative by Godot. Godot really focuses on optimization, and something that does annoy me, but it's good. This is another thing that happens to me if you are running on a low-end device. If you just try to run the mobile or forward plus rendering engine, you sometimes get an error that you have a potato PC. Instead of giving you the error, the engine just quietly overrides the thing and just says, oh, just use compatibility, you can't use the other rendering engines. So it's good. Thank you, Godot, for not reminding me. Okay, there's been a shadow caster mask property to the 3D light object, which should have been adding for a while ago, but yeah, Godot is really doing stuff that should have been done for a while, and I'm not here to criticize them. It's a small team, people contribute, but I really love that Godot doesn't miss out on feature and just move on to show off cool properties. The thing is, Godot is focusing on every single feature, and I'm loving this. That's what we love about open source. We have ideas from everyone, and really nice. 2D shader instance uniforms. Variation is something that I really love. When you have two enemies of the same texture, sometimes it gets annoying. So having updates like this release adds a support for shader instance uniform to canvas item shader. They allow you to assign different uniform values to each instance of an item instead of having to compile two separate shaders to achieve this. This approach is more proficient, and having to juggle between materials is kind of bug breaking. So yeah, that's been the rendering updates. No more guessing. This is the last update, the VFX update, and previously the emission shapes of 3D system was not quite predictable, so you just have to guess how they look in your game. Now you can totally rely on the preview and or the visualization of the 3D particle system placing in your scene, and instead of having to guess based on the emission shapes properties and alone. So it's really nice upgrade. I mean, first of all, I just have to say the example they showed in the document here is quite amazing. I love this. I want to create this one. So yeah, that's it for today's video, and there are some updates that I missed, like there's been a lot of performance updates to importing your new projects, and there's been a lot of different things. You can check out the page and see more details, and I'll see you in the next one.